Right. Let's jump right in. Destroyer, the fourth studio album by a bunch of dickheads called Kiss. After after sorry, I should be nicer to them. A bunch of very determined young men. After Destroyer was released. Yeah, sorry, that is bad. After Destroyer was released, and it was a commercial success of sort for the band. It was seen as a breakthrough, if you will. Kiss sort of saved their record label a little bit, and as such, signed to a not that impressive 2-album deal because they felt that they sort of owed the label for giving them, let's be honest, like fuck knows how many chances to make a successful album. So they were like, "Oh, yeah, we'll give you these 2 records," but they weren't exactly. I don't think I get the impression I get is the label weren't exactly like sold on them as yet. However, the goal was to replicate the success of Alive. Rehearsals began in August '75, whilst Kiss were on a supporting tour for Alive. Do you think it's weird to tour to support a live album? Do you think that's odd? That strikes me as a bit odd. Like, do bands do that?
I've never heard of a band doing that.
I think maybe things were different back then.
Yeah, I think especially with how successful that Alive album was. I get it.
I feel like they're the heavy salesmen, though, aren't they? They're very, they're pushers at the end of the day. So I feel like that is something that I guess would make business sense for them to do. Yeah. Just seems a bit odd.
And they just love to rock. Give them an excuse, and they'll just go out and rock, you know?
Yeah. That's the excuse. Anyway, it strikes me as a bit odd. To be fair, they've made weirder business decisions and weirder career decisions than that. It just struck me as a bit weird. Anyway, a key figure in the Kiss story is about to enter the picture at this point to produce. His name is Bob Ezrin, and his credits up until this point sort of most notably have been Lou Reed and Alice Cooper. So obviously one can make the argument that with Alice Cooper, Bob Ezrin seems like the obvious choice at this point. However, I sort of disagree. I think apart from the shock rock aspect, I don't necessarily see the through line. I feel like with Alice Cooper, he'd made 2 really weird albums before Love It to Death, which Ezrin produced, right? He essentially made 2 very avant-garde psychedelic albums that Frank Zappa had produced, right? Really, 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 really weird albums. And what Bob Ezrin did is essentially he made them into sort of a hard rock, like an art hard rock band. Like, don't get me wrong, like Love It to Death has still got some really, really weird shit on it, but musically it's a far less experimental than the first 2 albums. Now, with this, I don't really see what it means for Kiss, because essentially Alice Cooper already swam in very, very weird territory, right? In kind of relatively weird territory before that. And I feel that what Bob Ezrin did was like, yeah, we're going to kind of make an art hard rock album with Alice Cooper, but still retaining that sort of weird approach to the music, that more kind of experimental approach to the music, but streamlining it and making it a bit more straightforward. With this kind of seems the other way round, where he's taking a band that made really, really straightforward, quite pain by numbers hard rock movement and trying to push them into more experimental territory, which to me seems like they're sort of missing the boat. Feel like it's not really what you want from a Kiss album. I feel like what we keep saying about the issue of Kiss albums is they're not heavy. You want heavy, not necessarily weird or arty in a sense. I'm not saying this is a particularly weird and arty album, but as an idea, I don't know. I feel like they've missed the boat a bit. What do you guys think?
I think what you said is I didn't even think of that, and that's very true. What you said about how with Alice Cooper it was trying to make him a bit more. Let's take this very weird thing and make it hard rock. Well, with Kiss it's the other way around. That's actually very accurate. I think that is what's going on. I think there is a benefit to making Kiss interesting. I think arty, I'm with you. I don't think they were ever going to be this like crazy art rock band. But I think it is very much worth looking at the music they were making and the image they were trying to maintain and to think, well, this has to be somehow weirder or more interesting because what they have so far is just this, and we've complained about it, just very boring rock and roll. So I think I am all for them trying. I see your point about missing the boat and maybe, certainly when it was made, it does seem a bit like they're missing the boat in terms of jumping on that. But I think experimentation was a must. I think the weird thing about getting Bob Ezrin on board is it's almost, to me, feels like they're admitting how much of a rip-off they are of Alice Cooper.
Absolutely.
And that's not fair, I guess. But it just feels like that, right? Because when I first discovered Kiss, I was already... Alice Cooper was my favourite artist as a child. So I looked at Kiss and was like, oh, they're doing an Alice Cooper. They're trying, but then I heard them and I realized it's not the same. But so I think with Bob Ezrin, it really is like, oh, I don't know. I like that they didn't feel they were above that, and he's done good stuff with Alice. So I came into this album with some optimism, if I'm honest.
Mate, sorry, just wanted, bangers, absolute bangers of Alice. You talk Killers, Love It to Death, $1 Billion Babies, like. Absolute. Yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Killers is quality. I actually re-listened to Killers before going into this, and I re-listened to a bit of $1 Billion Babies. Amazing, like really, really, really great stuff. Really weird, but really tuneful. Quite heavy in places. You know what I mean? Like the subject matter is really kind of odd and weird and stuff like that. Like it's really, 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 really good stuff. I feel that like you made some interesting points. I feel like when it's a bit like round peg in a square hole, really. I feel like Alice had better raw materials to work with, to then create something out of. Because he strikes me as, and we can talk about this later, as like an arranger, Bob Ezrin. Do you know what I mean? Like an arranger. He likes moving things, taking things out, collaging things together, putting things... You know what I mean? I think he had better raw materials to work with, rather than making these quite, let's be honest, when you think about the bare bones of a lot of songs on this album, like quite dull, pretty boring, and then trying to make them as interesting as possible. Do you know what I mean? Whereas Alice already swam in those weird waters. Like there's some really odd decisions on this album, like really bizarre choices. Do you know what I mean? Where they're obviously trying to do weird or a little bit arty or stuff like that, and it does just feels unjustifiable, really. What do you think, Alex?
You're right. I think... Yeah, go on, Alex. Yeah.
Well,
Alex,
I'm not... So, when we listen to his albums, I listen to them first without any context, because I just want to hear the music before getting sort of... have any, like, narratives in my head or anything.
Oh, shit, I should have done that. Alex.
I could hear straight away that somebody else has been working on it, as I'm sure we'll talk about. There's a much larger range of textures and sounds in this album. And then when I saw that, this guy helped him so much, the album was such a huge part of putting the songs together. I, when you said, Alexei, that, maybe it's to, like, kind of make it a bit more experimental and give a bit more of an edge. When I saw that, I took it the other way. I assumed that this guy's job was to make him a bit more, like, radio-friendly. Or to make him, like, kind of fit on the radio more. Because... like, this, I feel as though what he's done is he's thrown them into the 70s. Like, a lot of, like, the sounds here, I think, when I heard it, I was like, this is a very 70s trend. This is a very 70s sound. So I was kind of assuming that his job was to sort of, like, bring him into what was happening at that time. I didn't even consider the fact that it was to, like, try and make it more experimental. I don't know Alice Cooper's work, in terms of albums at that time. I know his songs, but I don't know like what albums are at what point.
Can I jump on that?
Yeah, go on.
I think maybe what it is, and this is to try and reconcile what you two are saying, is maybe it's a bit of both in that their music was so boring before that to make it radio friendly was synonymous with kind of making it a bit more interesting. Because it wasn't that radio friendly, their music before, because no one's going to play that boring, no one's going to play She on the radio. While, so it has to be, so I suppose we need to be maybe more specific about when we use words like experimental or artistic. I think it's more, it's higher production value for sure. And
100%.
It is, they are going out more places. Yeah, there's more going on this album. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I think maybe it's to do with that.
I think.
Alexei, what do you think?
I think you're right. Actually, you know what? I think it's both. It's both. It's more commercial. It's attempting to be more commercial, but at the same time, but by doing that, at the same time, you are still using more textures, using more different sounds, borrowing from different things, more instrumentation and stuff like that, which was, like you said, quite a big trend at the time. Like, there's like, it is both. It's both. It's utilizing more sounds. It's refining songwriting, and because a lot of those Alice Cooper stuff, it is weird, but there's also like there's hooks all over them. Like hooks absolutely everywhere. But like the term that I would like to use is like, I mean, this is probably like a really really lame term, but it's probably the best way I could describe it. At least as Alice Cooper albums they are like hard art rock in a sense. Do you know what I mean? Like where I feel like this is where this is.
That makes sense.
Aiming to be pushed towards. Do you know what I mean? Like more of like, I mean, the Lou Reed comparison's quite a good one, really, because there's a lot of weird, choices on things like Transformer and Berlin, which is what Bob Ezrin produced. But not so much on Berlin, but on Transformer, there's hooks all over it. All over it. Do you know what I mean? And I think when we talk about moving them into more interesting territories, that also goes for the commercial aspect of it. Do you know what I mean? That does mean pushing them into different like harmonic territory and songwriting territory, as well as just some weird little accoutrements that they pop here and there, which we'll get into really. In any case, regardless,
it might also be to do with how Bob Ezrin's from. Oh, sorry.
No, you go.
Sorry. It might also be to do with Bob Ezrin is from an era. Like when he was doing Alice and Lou Reed, we're just post Beatles. David Bowie is on the rise, and sort of, there was quite a bit of experimentation in the mainstream. So his idea of success might be that, you need a balance between these hits. We've got the hooks, like Alice has, but there also has to be room for experimentation, which I think I would put money on that being a goal on this album. It's like expand the sound, do some interesting stuff, but really refine the hooks as well.
Yeah, I think that's well said. I think that's well put, because like you said, a lot of those artists as well that had been successful at that time, they were experimenting, they were moving forward. I mean, even like you said, like the Beatles, like Sgt. Pepper is like a really, really obviously very, very commercially successful album, but it's really experimental for the time. There's loads of crazy shit on it, and your Jimi Hendrixes and stuff like that. Like a lot of stuff.
We can argue at the end whether they were successful in that sense.
Yeah, 100%. Anyway, regardless, Kiss thought that Bob Ezrin was the right man for the job, and he was brought in to produce. Now, Kiss wrote 15 songs on this album, 13 of which were just flat out rejected. I mean, you can't really blame him for rejecting those songs. I mean, I'm not going to lie, like, if they'd come in with nothing to lose, right, you would just be like, what the fuck are you doing? Do you not take this seriously? Do you not take this shit seriously?
Yeah.
Like I could totally get on board with that approach. Like, you're coming in with, like, bloody, love theme from Kiss. You'd just be like, what are you doing? Come on. Do you not care? Do you not care? Or two-time, room service, you'd just be like, oh, for fuck's sake, stop it. Just stop it. Just don't be fucking stupid. Come on.
Ladies in wait.
It's ridiculous. Like, how old are you? How old? It's just fucking madness. Anyway, he did. However, he did introduce the band to a lot of new things, a lot of different things, all that weird shit that we're talking about. sound effects, orchestras, children's choirs. Again, not really what you want from this band. Again, what Alex is saying about going for the hits, they're definitely going for the hits, but that is way not what you would expect or like or want. I mean, we can talk about the orchestras and stuff like that later on. But again, bold choice, whether you say bold choices. A good thing that he did, according to Paul and Gene, is he installed several tactics to get the band to write better music. Again, I agree with Danny. I'm fully on board with this. I admire this man very much for this reason alone. He got them to, he taught them music theory. He would use a whistle around his neck to get them to work. He used to call them campers. Now, teaching them music theory must have been absolutely agonizing. Like, agonizing. Like, I imagine it's a bit like teaching a year 10, nurture group for English language and they still don't know what an apostrophe is. Do you know what I mean? Like, it must have been unbelievably frustrating.
Do you guys have any idea what you think he was teaching them, or like what the conversations were about?
Apparently, it was things like.
To this album, I was trying to think like what they were getting at.
I don't know, because if I'm honest, as a sentence, it rubs me the wrong way, because I'm all for this is not the sort of band that needs to understand music theory. But then, if you adopt a very, very vague definition of music theory, that's probably what he means. He's probably literally just talking about like being able to play in the right key and stuff like that. So,
I agree.
If it is just as basic stuff as that, it's probably stuff like, I don't know, maybe helping them with arrangements and stuff, and maybe. But again, I can't help but wonder, that's sort of Bob Ezrin's job, isn't he? The one who's adding all these, all the orchestras and stuff.
I think it was. I think it was teaching them like things like what a one is, how to tell what a time what time signatures are tuning, how to work out what BPM it's at, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Just so they could like communicate with each other like better.
I saw somewhere that that he was mainly working on the drumming, or he really pushed Peter Criss the most during this time. And Peter Criss said like
that makes sense.
He was really pushing him in terms of like keeping on time and not being sloppy with his drumming. Maybe you're right, Alexei, maybe a lot of stuff like that to keeping on beat.
Yeah,
that's probably true. And if that counts as music theory, then that's probably what they mean. They're probably not talking about teaching them like, the modes and stuff. It's probably literally just, by theory, he means getting them to do good takes and stuff.
Yeah. I think that from what I see, from what I've heard, what I've read, a lot of this is Ezrin's vision. He wrote a lot. He picked the track list. He picked what order it was going to go in. He changed a lot of the songs. He apparently, like Alex pointed out, he told Peter exactly what to do. Like, exactly what to do. And spent hours with him trying to get the right take. So in a way, you can almost see this, and this has been, exactly, and this has been mentioned by numerous members of the band before. In a way, you can almost see this as a Kiss and Bob Ezrin record, because as awfully narcissistic as Gene and Paul are, they do show a certain amount of humility when they talk about Bob Ezrin. Like, in a lot of that, we learned a lot from him. He taught us what to do. He made us look like buffoons on numerous occasions. Like, we didn't know what we were doing, and he taught us so much. However, you can also interpret that as, still quite self-aggrandizing, because they're kind of saying, like, we had room to go. We had room to... fuck me, I can't speak. We had room to grow. Unlike Ace and Peter, who did not have a good time, apparently. They didn't have a good time. So as I've mentioned in previous episodes, this is kind of where the band starts to splinter off a little bit. Peter used to fly.
Oh.
I know. And they didn't enjoy the recording at all. Peter, according to Simmons, could not retain any of the music theory that was being taught to him. And Bob Ezrin would essentially write the drum parts and then teach him how to play it, but not using music theory. Would kind of like hum it to him or tap it to him. He would get very angry. Peter would get very, very angry. And Ace would just leave at random points because he just wanted to do other shit. Bob, however...
Got to finish his card games.
Exactly, he got to finish his card game. He left because he needed
Card
his
games,
card.
yeah.
Yeah, it's important. And Bob, however, did not care about this. And he would simply get other guitarists to come in and play instead. Specifically, a guitarist called Dick Wagner. How much he played, I'm not completely sure. There's kind of different takes on how much Ace is actually on this. And this is a trend that would continue sort of for most records, if I think pretty much all records of the original lineup, moving forward. And they would again lie about it for quite some time. It's quite similar to the dishonesty of Alive, and that's not really great. I mean, can you guys think of another band that lies this much? Like, just lies about things in their career and is that dishonest about their artistry?
For albums that have been released and it's already out, and then lying about it afterwards, no, not at all. No one
comes close.
I don't think so.
It's bizarre. It's bizarre. It's very dishonest. It's not great. Anyway.
It is a bizarre situation, though, as well, like, for that to happen. Like, I understand that, they're rock stars, or, like, they might be difficult to discipline and all that stuff. But I'm assuming we're going to talk about the guitar solo later. But what happened there where apparently not everybody was told about which guitar solo was going on the album, or there was some confusion? Like, yes, it's lying to one of the members, but also it's just kind of incompetence. Okay, we'll talk about it later.
Yeah, but I don't think... I mean, it's lying to the fans, because they were convinced that he'd actually played on it for, like, years. Like, years. It was only when they did a tour, or they did an acoustic tour, where they did Q&A afterwards, where they were like, no, he didn't. And it's I don't know. It's just... There's... I don't know. I don't think it's fine. I don't know. Also, like, can you just wait? Like, just wait until he'd finished his card game, or turn it the next day. Are you that on the clock? Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, just to wait a little bit for him to come back. I mean, in fairness,
time campers.
Yeah, I mean, in fairness, like, if they were just doing it if they were just doing it to make him look like, an idiot, because at the end of the day, like, you are recording an album, mate, you probably shouldn't be going to play cards. Like, I can totally get that, but at the same time, just don't lie about it for years. It's the same problem with Alive. They just lie. Charlatans. Anyway, it got released. It peaked at number 11, and it fell pretty quick. It kind of fell to about 192 in a very short space of time. It didn't do that great critically. Critics were not fans of the experimentation. In a way, this is sort of like their white pony, their Kid A of the time. Really, this is their change of change of sound. This is like the sort of like the great experimentation. Retrospective reviews. Did it do well
commercially?
Not really well.
I thought this was like the big break. This was like the moment where we go into Kiss Stardom.
Well, initially it didn't do great, but then they started to play a little B-side, and it started to climb back up again. But we'll get to that in a bit. In retrospective reviews, have been much kinder. Kerrang put it as the 36th. greatest metal album of all time. I mean, Jesus Christ. Like, I'm not being funny, but we'll get into what we think about the album in a bit, but there's much, much, much better albums than this. And also, this is just not a metal album at all. At all. Not even close. And then...
And I feel as though it's getting less metal as we go on.
I agree. I think this is their least heavy record thus far, in my opinion. Guitar World placed it at number 60 on the greatest guitar albums of all time. Again, this is just I hate how paint by numbers these lists are. Like, I'm not being funny, but I don't think this is Ace's best work. This is not the best guitar solos on any of their albums. In fact, we'll get into it later, but I think this has actually probably got the worst guitar solos of any of their records so far on it. And all the riffs, again, the riffs aren't that much better. You know, I mean, we'll get into the songs as a whole, but the actual riffs, you know, you're talking about because it's Guitar World, right? So you're talking actual, like, guitar work. This is probably, if you're literally just assessing the guitars purely by themselves, like on the riffs and the solos, this is not their strongest, I don't think, personally. In any case, this is seen very much as sort of next to Alive. Obviously, we spoke about Alive last week, but this is sort of seen as like their best work. You know, again, the Kid A, White Pony comparison. This is sort of like,
yeah, that's
you know,
what I'm seeing online too.
This is seen as their best work next to Alive. This and Alive is sort of basically, you know, this is the dog's bollocks. This is the jeans. This is the cat. This is Peter Chris's bollocks. What we have right here, and
this is the album that I associated with them.
100%, 100%. This was the one when, like, I was buying Kiss albums. You know, this was the one that I was probably most stoked to buy or would look out to buy. Do you know what I mean? Mostly because it had God of Thunder on it. I assume this was like the heavy one because it had God of Thunder on it. But, but like, you know, and again, like most Kiss albums, you go in with that mindset and you're just bitterly disappointed. Anyway, I wanted to talk about the cover. That's all right. As usual, I like the cover. I think it's well crafted. I think it's iconic looking. The poses, admittedly, that the members are doing are a bit shit. I feel like Paul looks like he's jumping at you from behind a bush. And the only one that kind of looks like a bit cool is Gene, I guess. But even he sort of looks a little bit lame. But regardless of that, I think it's quite attention grabbing. I think
it's well done. And I like we get to see the full outfit as well. I think like we get to see all of them and see little details of their costume. I think that's cool.
Yeah, I feel that like if there is a problem with it, it's not very representative of the album at all. It's their most metal cover.
Yeah.
To date.
Exactly. Going off what you're saying, Alexei, it's called Destroyer, which is metal as hell. And also like this, if you see the back cover as well, it's meant to be like a sort of like a derelict city, like a destroyed city.
It's a post-apocalyptic wasteland. The original cover was going to be them like staring over like this post-apocalyptic wasteland, which is even more metal than the cover that we've got, and that's way off. And in a way, is it a good cover? Just for that alone. Like that, it being that misrepresentative of the of the music that's actually on the album, can you really say it is a good cover?
They've done very well, commercially speaking, from leaning into the comic book aspect of their brand. And this is that turned up way more than they've done in the past. And so it's not really my thing. But I think this is, again, I would say, how am I critiquing this? I'd say it's on brand. But then what you're saying is accurate, Alexei. Is it that representative of the music? I will say, and we'll get into this more when we go into the music, I think there's, if not just due to production, some heavier moments on this album. We've got some of their heaviest moments, I would argue. But it depends what we mean by heavy. No, already, we're getting too semantic, actually. Heavy has nuance.
Yeah, I agree. What do you think, Alex?
Yeah, I agree. I think this might be the biggest gap between like how the album looks and what the album sounds like that we've had so far. But I think it's cool. It is on brand, like Danny's saying. And yeah, we can talk about how heavy we find the album is. Should we start with Detroit Rock City?
Yeah, let's get going. I think this is good. I like Detroit Rock City. I think it's good. I think the sample at the beginning is completely pointless, and again is a kind of poor shoehorned in attempt to seem arty. It's got great drive, like really, really good drive. I feel like Paul sings it really well. I think that you can tell he's being pushed, which is good. I think he sounds quite savage in places. I think he's got a lot of bite. I think the production is just a lot better. It might be a bit wet in places where it does lose a bit of punch, but it's still solidly better. It goes back to what I said about like you're pushing them into more arty directions and stuff like that, and it definitely sounds better, but it's maybe not necessarily what you want from a Kiss record. Like it's not necessarily heavy. However, the bass line is great. Like the bass line is fantastic. I love it. Like it's heavily inspired by Freddy's Dead by Curtis Mayfield, which is also fantastic. Also, there's a very good cover version of that song by Fishbone you should check out, which is really, really good. However, we talk about the bass line. The bass line is great. It wasn't Gene. It was Bob Ezrin. Bob Ezrin wrote it.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, he wrote it. He told him exactly. It was like
Really?
note
Goes
for note.
to show.
Note for note told him what to do, because as we'll get into later, bass-wise, this is Gene's best work by far. Any probably any Kiss album, let alone. I think that the drums could have a bit more presence. I feel like the samples, particularly in the middle eight and the guitar solo, are way too high in the mix. It just sounds like cars crashing. It's probably a bit long, but I think the samples do that. The lyrics are reliably innocuous, but there's again nothing you can do about that. It does feel a bit like quite a lackluster song that's been arranged the fuck out of. But other than but in spite of that, it is a good opener. There's a lot of urgency to it. There's no plot. The plot is gone. It's actually, I think, quite hard to believe that Peter is playing that beat. He tends to rely, at least on the other albums, a lot on his hi-hat and his toms. And this is all kick and snare, and it gives it like a really good attack and propulsion that has been completely lacking in past material. The whole song sounds current for the time as well, which is something we consistently keep complaining about. It's just how dated a lot of it feels. And I also feel that Gene's backing vocals are actually pretty good. I think they work well. I think that the huge amount of reverb on them gives them a sort of epic feel, which along with the chorus gives it quite an anthemic quality. It's good. I enjoy it. I think it's a good opener. I think it's decent. What do you think? Alex?
Well, yeah, there's a lot to say about it. I'm going to push back a bit on what you said. Let me preface it first. If you're going to have a long sample intro sort of thingy, make it a separate track so you can skip it on listens.
Good point.
However, I think doing that at the beginning of an album, like I think it's just such an easy way to sort of like get the listener into being like, this is the atmosphere, this is like the situation. It's just such an easy way to like bring you into the album. It's too long, yes, but like when I first heard this, I was like, oh yeah, this is like driving fast in my car, like that sort of rock and roll whatever sensibility that we've heard from before. I think it works, and it's a good it sets the tone of the album really well. And yeah, man, I think we finally got like a classic rock album from from Kiss. Like the other stuff before, it was always like a little bit dated, and it was always a bit, I don't know, like One Foot is kind of in the 60s or like even older with the writing. But this one, the sound, the singing, the drums, like you were saying, Alexei, it's just, it sounds like classic 70s rock. And I thought it's actually a really good opener. The only, the main criticism I have for it is the guitar solo. It sounds as though they like took the guitar solo from somewhere else and placed it in. They did some like weird effect on it that made it sound like it's kind of in, I don't know, in water or something. I couldn't quite figure it out, but it didn't sound like they were like rocking out live with each other, and I wasn't really into that.
Bob Ezrin did that. He sung it. He sung the guitar solo to Ace for him to figure out how to do it. Again, I think that's
Really?
his
It's interesting.
that's his thing though. He likes to do this where he'll strip everything back so it's only like 2 pieces of instrumentation. He does it a lot with Alice Cooper's stuff as well. But with that guitar solo, I think you make quite a decent point, which is this isn't Ace. Do you know what I mean? That's not like an Ace.
Yeah.
That's not an Ace guitar solo, is it? At all. And I think they sort of missed the trick a little bit.
And you can tell with a lot of Ace's solos that, like, you know, sometimes they're good and sometimes they're just whatever. But you can tell that, like, he's jamming along with the band and that, like, he's part of that group because of how much they play together, and he just fits in quite nicely. It's quite, like, cohesive. But with this one, like I said, it just, like, who is this player? It sounded like he was in the same room as him.
No. Also, sorry, yeah,
I
Danny, what do you
think
think?
you two covered quite a lot there. I think this is, I wrote the word mature. I think there's a little more maturity in the writing, in the performance. I don't know how much of that is, you know, real genuine improvement as musicians, or how much of it is just like Bob Ezrin's iron fist and the heightened production value. I think they benefit so well from the better production. Like it's night and day. So that's why I think I liked this song in the album more than I actually like the song, because it just felt like, thank God, finally. I feel like we're getting to what Kiss should sound like here. I feel like they're finally building from Black Diamond. That's the song they should have latched onto and be like, we're onto something here. It's fully minor key to the point where I actually don't, you know, it's not mind blowing, but I'll take that kind of harmony guitar solo thing they do, where it gets very stripped back. When I say heavy, I'm wondering, I'm going to bring up heavy because I'm not talking about Black Sabbath heavy, nor am I talking about Sepultura heavy or Meshuggah. I'm talking about thickness, and it sounded like it punches you. I'm talking as, you know, a band like Kiss, I want them to sound like Lordi. I want them to be making pop songs that sound big and in your face, and I want it to be refined. I think that's why I'm very open to what Bob's up to, because I think they should be slick, and it should be clean, not in terms of tone, but clean in terms of its performance. And I mean, the rest I just agree with you. I think Paul's vocals are absolute top here. I think he was being pushed, like you said, Alexei, by Mr. Ezrin. I think the bass line, yeah, it's great. I didn't know Bob Ezrin wrote it. Yeah, the drumming. I like the drumming. I like the I thought that there's like a middle, it's not even a solo, it's like a middle eighth riff section. It's very underwhelming.
Is that the
Yes. Yeah, that bit. That bit, yeah. It seems completely unnecessary for a song that feels a bit long. It's like they just thought they needed another section.
Yeah, it's stalled.
I thought there's something about this song, because I actually already knew this song going in, which is this album compared to the others we've heard so far. I knew the most songs going in. And there is something, I just feel like the chorus isn't quite as epic as it should be. It's a really good opening riff. I don't know, I just think it could have an anthemic chorus, and it doesn't. It's actually quite I don't know, it feels like the chorus doesn't really rise that much. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. It feels like the chorus simply finishes the verse.
For me, this song is like a driving song, and it just keeps on going.
Okay, that's fair.
Just keep going. Like I was a bit worried that after Rock and Roll All Night and Alive, that every song we're going to get is going to have like this big anthem chorus. And I want some of that. But I like that in this album there was a variety of choruses and a variety of styles. And I think this one, to start off the album, I think it was actually a really good choice of songs to choose first.
Yeah, they did good.
Fair enough.
Even a broken clock tells the right time twice a day, basically.
Did you guys see the final verse? Apparently it was written for a fan who died, who's a major Kiss fan. Did you catch that?
Wait. Is that true? Why did they put a sound effect
I
of a
wonder if
car
it's even
crash?
true.
You know, like how unsympathetic that is.
I went back and forth on if it's a good tribute or not.
That's a fucking terrible.
It's a weird one, though, isn't it?
No,
on a song where the hook is "Get up, everybody gonna move their feet, get down, everybody gonna leave their seat." We dedicate this song to Bob.
Leave their seat through the fucking windshield.
I want to say one other thing about this song. It's an observation of mine. Bob Ezrin likes opening albums with songs about automotive collisions, because there's two examples.
Yeah,
Under My Wheel is also about running someone over. So maybe he thinks, again, he was trying to think, we need to get some of that energy like from the album Killer. And so that's what we have here.
Or
it's a good song. It's certainly better than a lot on this album. So I'll take it.
Maybe he's like one of the characters out of the book Crash, and he's got like a sexual fetish for car crashes.
That's almost definitely true.
That's 100% true. Anyway, next we have King of the Nighttime World. I think it's an okay intro. I think the performances are tight. In the verse, there's all the low end just goes. All the low end just disappears, and it sounds terrible. Like the guitars sound like a crisp packet being scrunched up. Like it sounds awful. It's very, very, very jarring. Again, he seems like a guy, Bob Ezrin. He seems like a guy that just likes to take things out, leave things out, bring them back in, and stuff like that. He seems like a big fan of dynamics. I don't think it really works, but other than that, I think it's just very glammy. It sounds a bit like The Sweet. The twin guitars and the drum rolls are very, very, very Alice Cooper. They're like things that he would sort of try to sprinkle onto their songs, you know, like Your School's Out and your Generation Landslides and stuff like that. It's okay. It's okay. It really doesn't do much for me. It's alright. It's fine. What do you think, Alec?
Let me talk about what I like first. Again, kind of like with the first track, I think they're just simple things you can do on albums that just give it a bit more character and give it a bit more life. With the first track, just having a sort of like atmosphere building thing. With this one, doing segues between songs. Like, I think it can really help us keep the momentum going, and it can cure a lot of what Kiss's problems were in earlier albums, where just get this hard cut and it'll just be another song with a similar type of riff, and that, like, sometimes it's such a drag to listen to. But I think that I like the segue between these two tracks. Also, I kind of like lyrically what they were going for in this album, because before we've had this very vague, like, they say they love rock and roll and all this stuff, but like they never kind of talk about what that is. But on here, I feel as though we actually kind of get something where it's like, oh, it's a place to get away from your family and get away from the troubles of your life and drive.
It's a bit more
free
relatable
and do well.
Yeah, it's a bit more.
Yeah. I think I liked what they were.
That's a good point.
I liked what they were trying. From this.
I think
we get more details.
I think there is definitely a theme of this album where it feels like lyrically they are more like talking to their fans more and trying to appeal to their fans and the kind of people that they are, like trying to appeal to a more rebellious spirit, if that makes sense.
I think they've had more market research.
I mean, that too.
So things, but other than that, like this song is such a chore to listen to. Like what you're saying, Alexei, with the hi-hats and the guitar, there's something about the way they're together where it just gives me a headache listening to the song.
There's no low
It's just
end.
all up in the high end. Yeah, it's all up here. And then with the singing as well. I really just, this is the song, like, I've listened to it and I'm always reaching for the skip button. I was I gotta listen to it because we're going to talk about it.
You know what, like, you know what it sounds like? It sounds a bit like, you know, when you used to have, I don't know if you've still got these, but like, you know, when you had headphones with a cable, with a jack cable at the end. Like, I've got Bluetooth headphones. You know when you got them, and it slightly comes out a little bit, and it's just, and it all goes really tinny and high-endy. It sounds just like that.
Yeah, I just couldn't with this song. Danny, please explain why this is actually like a really masterful stroke from Bobby. Please.
Okay. Well, I'll start with the bad and I'll finish on the good. So, to me, the main thing I had a different criticism. Was my main one was just that the move to the major key cannot help but sound like a step back for me. We've just had Detroit Rock City. We finally got some nice heavy minor key sounding stuff, and we just step back into this major key, and it just sounds so tame again. It's like we're going back to the old ways of the older albums.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
That plus, I just think this song needs a catchier chorus, which I think a few songs on this album suffer from too greatly. We need really good choruses, and it's just not a great chorus. I like the halftime one that comes towards the end, but
is that the "I'm the King" bit?
It doesn't work for me.
What you mean?
The bit where it kind of goes, "I'm the king." Dun, dun,
Oh yeah, the
world,
outro.
yeah.
Yeah.
Dun. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. It's interesting that you talk about the chorus not being good enough. I think that harks back to what I was saying about just the raw materials he's working with as songwriters just are not as good as Alice Cooper's at all the reads. And I feel that like he is again trying to bring out a lot out of stuff that really isn't that great to begin with, and I think that's a really good example of it.
Yeah, I wrote in my notes here, this sounds like old Kiss with better production, Kings of the Nighttime World. And that include, when I say production, that also means the takes are better. I feel like they are performing better. And the mix is certainly better. But the best thing I can say about this song is, again, actually this sort of applies to the rest of the album, is it's easier on the ears to me. And that sounds like I'm disagreeing with what you guys said about that fucking weird high-end shit going on with this song. And I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about it just feels more together. It's tighter, and it's clearer. And it's just... the whole song feels less grating to me, actually, against what Alex said, I suppose, than so many of the tracks on the previous albums. Now, I wouldn't say that speaking as a music fan in general, but just by Kiss's standards, even though this is a song that's very much like songs I've heard in the past that just are kind of boring and don't feel good enough, at least this feels a little tighter and more together to me. And it's production, it's performances.
I can accept that. I think on the album as a whole, you're completely right, Danny. I just think it's funny for you to mention that between this song and the next song we're going to talk about. We don't have... Yeah. We can wait to talk about God of Thunder, but...
Okay. No, we can move on. Let's move on to God of Thunder. Alexei, what do you think of that?
God of Thunder. Right, so... Basically, so a bit of history for me and this song. So basically... When I was a big little Alexei being a big Kiss fan growing up, and this was always, I remember we had a friend, we still do have a friend called Joe Fort, and he was like, oh, if you like Kiss, or you're starting to like Kiss,
shout out
to Joe Fort, 4P, Off Me Not Records, he makes bass lines, just had a baby recently, just had a baby called Douglas, who I met the other day. Absolutely adorable.
We should play God of Thunder too.
Good guy. We should play God of Thunder too. Anyway, so he recommended. You got to listen to God of Thunder because it was on Tony Hawk's Underground 2 or 3. I can't remember which one, but that's how he knew it. And he was like, that's the only good Kiss song. I was like, all right. And it was on this album, and I was like, this is the heavy Kiss song. This is like why Gene has his name. Like, this is why Gene is the demon. is because of this. Like, this is like whenever you have that, I don't know, that sort of feeling of like, well, they're not really a heavy band. This is sort of like this and like obviously some stuff later like Creatures and that. This is the qualifying factor. And when I was younger, I used to love this very, very much. I think mainly for that reason alone, more what it represented rather than the song itself, because this is fucking awful. This is absolutely fucking dire. This is objectively terrible. It's too fucking slow. It sounds like when you accidentally put a record on and it's at the wrong fucking BPM. It's absolutely terrible, right? I have piles, right? And I'm not ashamed to admit that I have piles, right? The way Gene Simmons sings this song is like when you're trying to talk to someone while sounds like when you're trying to talk to someone while simultaneously having a shit when you have piles. Like, he sings it absolutely horrendously. And there's so much guff. There's so much guff on it. There's so many pointless sound effects. It's way too wet. It sounds incredibly muddy. There's always like... like, for no reason whatsoever. Like, it just sounds annoying. Like, it's way too wet. It's not heavy. The plod is back with a fucking vengeance. This is plodcore. This is a masterpiece in plodcore. The chorus lacks it's any punch. Partly because of all the shit that's just been dumped on it. Like, it just like, and at the end, there's just this sound effect of someone going. It feels the whole song. The whole song feels defective. It feels like there's something wrong with it. It feels like it's ill. It feels like it's got like a disease or something. It feels like it's dying, and like not in a good way, and which is messed up in a way, because I feel that there is a good song in it somewhere. I feel like there is. I think the riff is good. It's a good riff, and I feel the chorus is good, and I even feel the lyrics are good. It's just how it's been arranged and put together and produced is just so wrong. And I think one of the biggest things that's wrong with it is the tempo. The tempo is completely off, and you know, it got me wondering. Like, there must be there must be a decent version of this, because there's enough raw material. You see, this is going back on what I said about King of the Nighttime World. I think there's enough good raw material in there to make something good, and there've been a lot of covers. For example, Death did a cover. It's okay. Again, it's not great. Eagles of Death Metal did a cover. The both of them are better than this, but they don't necessarily nail it. And then I remembered about a cover that's not great. It's not a great cover, but I feel like it nails. It points in the right direction of what this song sort of should have sounded like, or at least would have been a good jump starting point, right? Which is a cover that was aired on a VH1 edition, again, friend of the shows, VH1. A VH1, I guess, I don't know what it is, like an awards ceremony. I'm not quite sure what it is, but essentially it's a supergroup.
Yeah, I couldn't work it out either.
I don't know what it's meant to be for. I think it's kind of, I don't really know, but it's like this supergroup put together. The first thing you see is Jamie Kennedy, who is an actor that was in the Scream franchise. He was also in the sequel.
Oh, and he's hyped, man.
He's absolutely hyped. He comes across like an absolute bellend. He comes out and he introduces this supergroup to Honor Kiss, right? And in this supergroup, we have Slash, again, good guitar player. So off to a good start. I like Slash. Guns N' Roses have one undeniably great album. And then we have Tommy Lee from Motley Crue. Not so great. Bit of a step down in quality. And then you have Gilby Clarke, who most people in the audience probably are thinking, who the fuck is Gilby Clarke? But he was a rhythm guitarist. He was the replacement for Izzy Stradlin in Guns N' Roses. And I think that, to be fair, I think Guns N' Roses have that much of a mythology around them and were that big that even being a touring guitar player gives you some sort of credibility. So he gets a little bit of a pass. And then you have Rob Zombie as well. He's there again. I like White Zombie. I like the first White Zombie record, and I also like Astro Creep. It's a good album. And then you've got Ace Frehley himself is there, and then who's last? Pretending he can play bass, but Scott Ian, a friend of the show. And when he's introduced, incidentally, he throws his devil horns up, and he looks like a sad little toddler. He's really bad. Anyway, so they do this cover, and again, it's not great. It's not amazing, but there's more propulsion. The rhythm is more, dun 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 dun. Like they bring out that riff so much.
I'm so
much
glad
harder.
you're saying this, Alexei.
Yeah,
because it's exactly my experiences too.
They bring it out so much harder, so much harder. Like it could be a Pantera riff. Like it's a massive riff, and there's way more energy. There's way more punch. There's way more, this is what it should be. Like, you're introduced like the God of Thunder. It needs to be this, like, big, swinging, ball-swinging, badass thing. And they, again, it's not the best cover after, Scott Ian keeps jumping around like an absolute twat, pretending he can play bass. However, and between every single lyric, Rob Zombie goes, yeah! Like that. Bar that, this is what it should be. This is what it should be. And the original studio version, look, I'm a bit older. I have perspective now. The original studio version is probably one of the worst recorded pieces of music Kiss have ever put out. And I cannot believe, just seeing how defective it sounds, that it has ever reached the heights that it has. And I think that one of the reasons why it is that covered is because so many artists go like, yeah, well, Kiss sort of swung and a miss a little bit with this. We can do a much, much, much better job of doing it because there's enough raw material.
Do you really think that's it?
What do you mean? Well, yeah. Because I think truth of truth. If you go like, what is it exactly that you like about this? What can I say? What the plot, the fact that it's too slow, the fucking the wind sound effect. It's awful. It's fucking terrible. Absolutely terrible. Unbelievably disappointed when I re-listened to this. Anyway, Alex, sorry. Alex, your fault.
I'm so glad you mentioned the VH1 supergroup performance because just like you, I was listening to the song and I like Joe. I first heard Kiss through Tony Hawk Underground, and they had 3 songs on there from Kiss, and one of them was God of Thunder. And I don't know, I might have to go and see if they cleaned it up a bit for the game, or maybe Kiss later on just made a cleaner version.
It's a live version. It's a live version with an orchestra.
Oh, is it a live version?
Yeah.
Because this is a song that I knew going to the album. Oh yeah, I know the song. Yeah, no problem. Looking forward to it. And it just shocked just how awful it was, Alexei. Just like I say, I couldn't stop laughing when I first started hearing it. I really trying to figure out what was going on, and it's the sort of thing where when you first hear it, you have to pull out your phone or whatever you're listening to on to be like, oh, have I got something playing on in the background? Is an ad playing somewhere? While listening to this, it's such a bizarre recording. But yeah, hearing that VH1 live performance, then I got to hear the riff, like you were saying, and I was like, oh, there's actually a good riff behind there, and I could see when they played this live, it would have been a good show. I think the song's all right. If you get.
Wait! You don't mean this version. You mean the idea of the song.
The riff, the lyrics. Yeah.
It just makes you wonder how could they fuck it up so badly and purposefully fuck it up so badly. Like they put all this stuff didn't just end up on it by accident. They purposefully did all this shit to it.
Yes, yeah. Well, I feel as though we're getting this freaking double-edged sword of Bob Ezrin. Because, like, he's vastly improved a lot of things, but then also, it's like we were saying at the beginning about, like, being experimental, or whatever we meant by it. Like, I don't know what the aim was here, or... I mean, part of me, when I did look a little bit into recording, apparently, like, it's Ezrin's kid is, like, the voice. I mean, it does sound like a little bit like, oh, you did something sweet with your kid and you don't dare take it out, or like you have a sentimental attachment to it that nobody else would see, sort of thing to it. Yeah, I don't have much else to say about it. This, I think it also works that they're really playing into like what Danny was saying with the superhero sort of visual performance character thing that they do so much on stage. Now we have a song which matches how they like to portray themselves, which I think is good for them. We can talk about the fact that Paul Stanley intended it for himself first.
Have you heard?
I want to get your thoughts on it first.
Yeah, so I was going to say I was going to ask if you'd heard the demo, but we can talk about that afterwards. Danny, what do you think?
I think you guys have. Again, you've covered a lot there, especially Alexei, because in my ways, my experience is like yours, Alexei, but lesser. It never meant that much to me.
Yeah.
One of you guys must have introduced me to this song at school, I think, because I think this is one of the first Kiss songs I heard. And it seems you both discovered it independently, which I'm amazed by. So both of you discovered this song through Tony Hawk or Joe Thorpe. And... yeah. You must have recommended it to me or something, or I must have heard you talk about it. Maybe I heard you two talking about it. And I went away. I got a Kiss.
Didn't you have a greatest hits?
Alexei.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, didn't you have a greatest hits? It will have been. It was. On that.
I went away because I had heard of. I was becoming familiar with all this hard rock and metal, this very classic stuff. I had this one birthday. I got like the Kiss greatest hits. I got an Iron Maiden album, an AC/DC album, Metallica. And that Kiss album was by far... Well, that's not true. Some of the others were disappointing, but that was a... Anyway, I'm getting off topic. I did sort of focus on God of Thunder, and I think it's a sort of... I just think it gaslights 12-year-olds, this song, because I think they're thinking the same thing we keep bringing up, which is that we want it to be heavy, we want them to sound like something they're not. And this song gives the impression that it's about to do that. And I think you're so desperate, it's, what's that, confirmation bias. I think you just so want it to be that. Especially when you're younger, you're just like, yes, this is a heavy, awesome song, and it's so good, and I love it.
That's exactly what
even
it is.
back
it's
then, I do remember thinking, even as a... Yeah, I think even back then, though, I was kind of thinking, like, this isn't... Probably because I had hype with it as well. You guys just discovered it. I had, like... I heard you guys talk about it, probably. And so I was a bit like, what? There are some weird noises. Why is there a kid? I always thought, why is there a kid? It's so not heavy. Why is there a little kid in the samples? Like it just starts with that kid going, like, I don't know. I just think I agree with just about everything. I think the vocals are just so bad. I think the vocals are terrible.
Unbelievable.
I'm not even sure there's a good song in there. I might even take it further than you guys, because I think the lyrics are shit. I really don't like the lyrics. I think they're so just trying to be something he's not, and it's just like, I'm so cool, it's so lame. I just think it's tooting his own horn. It needs for this fake. I don't know.
It needs to be sung by the right guy.
Go on, Alexei.
I think it needs to be sung by the right guy. Like there.
Yeah. No, maybe in that way there's a good song in it. If you just go on, Alexei.
Well, I was saying like it needs to be something like a Phil Anselmo or Randy Blythe or someone like that. Like, you know, someone that or Riley Gale or someone like that. Someone that you can believe would come out of come out of your speakers and beat the shit out of you. That's who should be singing stuff like that, and you can buy it to a certain degree, or at least get on board with it. This just sounds like a fucking a fat old man.
Well, yeah. Or I think you can either go that way with it, or you get someone who's incredibly camp or ridiculous, where it is like tongue in cheek.
Mate, Freddie Mercury.
Paul Stanley.
Freddie Mercury would have crushed this.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Justin
And
Hawkins
frankly,
or Freddie
so
Mercury.
would Brian May. I feel like he'd do some weird, like, lead stuff over the top.
Yeah,
I can hear it. I can fucking hear Queen doing a good... I'm not a big Queen fan, but I can hear them doing this. That is fucking true.
Yeah, I could, or I'd say either Justin Hawkins. Justin Hawkins would smash this as well. Justin Hawkins or Brian May, actually.
Yeah.
So, Justin Hawkins or Freddie Mercury, 100%. AI, that shit. Do we have anything more to say about this?
I agree with you guys. It's shit.
It's shit. Absolutely shit. Absolutely shit. Definitely down the bottom. However, Christ on bicycle. If you thought it could even get any worse, Great Expectations.
Right
now,
this is next.
Jesus.
Oh my god.
Right.
Oh my god.
I know.
I have
Jesus.
waited for this.
Right.
I kept wanting to jump ahead.
Now,
Daddy, do you want to go first on this one? Because we always talk first.
Yeah, you go first, Danny. You go first. I've really don't have much to say.
I'm not sure I do.
Refuse to talk about it. Danny, you go first.
Alexei said last time that his least favorite Kiss song ever is on this album. Now I don't know, he hasn't confirmed anything yet, but I'm just gonna preface what I say with that. Now, let's have a look here. Great Expectations. What I wrote is, I'm sorry, what? I could not believe... I've never heard this. I had no idea about this song.
You're like, you fucking what?
Other than I think I might have heard Alexei sing it. It's like, what are you doing? I don't... See, you've let me talk first, and it is hard to find what to say about this song.
I got fucking clue, mate.
Like, it's like, please give me the boring, ploddy, shitty riffs again. Bring me back there. This is so bad. It's the worst vocals on a Kiss track. Look, Alexei hasn't confirmed it yet, but I'll say it. This is the worst Kiss song yet. This is terrible. Because and it's in a pure aesthetic sense. It's a pure aesthetic sense in that it is horrible to listen to. And I don't need to go further than that. It is unpleasant to be listening to this. The sound that is... The tone, the chord structure, the melody, the goddamn chorus melody, which is apparently from like, I don't know, apparently it's from like Beethoven or something, but it's so unbelievably bad. Sorry, I'm conscious that I'm not actually saying anything. It's just terrible. Alex, save me. It's this fucking song.
I had the exact same thing. This song started playing and then I had, like, I don't know what, like, the music equivalent is of, like, a double take is, maybe like a record scratch or something.
Yeah!
But I had to go back and be like, am I hearing this right? Like, is this the same band? It is ridiculous. Firstly, just what it's about, and it's so, like, about them, like, talking about, how would you describe it? Like, they're talking to a member of the audience, and they're saying to themselves, like, you have great expectations of how good we are in bed. It's just such a bizarre train of thought. And then beyond that, to, like you're saying, Daddy, to put it on this, with this kids choir, with this orchestra, to put so much production about it. On my first listen, it sounded like a failed 70s Christmas song. Like, sonically, what they were going for.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
it's just
point.
The most bizarre choice. The vocals, I have no idea who... It's Gene singing, right? Because he puts on a very different voice for this. Yeah. I don't know what he's channeling for this, but he's really trying, it sounds like. But, I don't know, guys. Like, I think I could maybe accept this slightly if I felt as though it was coming from a place of, like, humour. Or they were trying to poke fun at themselves, or there was something there. But I never get that feeling from Kiss. And to me, this is just them making themselves laugh. And it's just, it's like, I agree with Danny. It is the worst song they've done. Because before, when we've listened to the bad songs, it was also like, oh, well, these are freaking 19-year-old boys who are sort of like, you know, playing in their basement, sort of bad. Where the songs are underdeveloped, or the lyrics are really, like, cheesy, or the mixing is bad because of whatever reason. Well, this one, A lot has gone into it. They are now seasoned performers and lyricists in a sense. And to come up with this is astounding. This threw me for a loop. I didn't expect us to get something like this here. Alexei, your turn. Just go.
Go on, Alexei.
What is this? What is it? What's the point? Who's it for? Who's it for? It's not for Kiss fans. They're not going to listen to it. It's not for anyone else because they're not going to buy the album based on this. Who is this for? Who would listen to this? I don't get it. I don't get it at all. This is the worst Kiss song by far. I'd be really, really surprised if we hear things in coming episodes that is worse than this. I mean, you've got ears. Go listen to it. It speaks for itself. Like, honestly, what else is there to say? It's just bad. It's really, really bad. There's this like incredibly lush orchestration and instrumentation behind it, but the melody is just horrendous, but when you have this lush instrumentation with this absolutely horrible vocal delivery on top, which is compounded by these like absolutely horrible lyrics. And I remember when I was working in an Italian restaurant very, very briefly a couple of years ago, and I was making a starter, right, and I had to put some sauce on it, right, and I accidentally just like put loads like that. I put loads of the sauce on it, and I didn't clean the plate, so there was just smatterings of shit everywhere on this plate, right, and I gave it to the sous chef to put on the pass, and he looked at me and he went, "You clean the plate, mate," like that, and I cleaned it, right? That's how I feel towards this. It's just take some pride in your fucking work, you fat pig. Take some fucking pride in your work. What is this? What is this? It's just horrible. I hate it. I hate it. I mean, just listen to it. Listen to it. I mean, what else can you say? It's a joke. It's rubbish. It's unbelievably rubbish. It's horrible. Anyway, moving on. Cack. I will say this, actually. Sorry. It was kind of interesting what Alex said about God of Thunder being the double-edged sword of Bob Ezrin. This is the razor's edge. This is like of that sword. This is just so wrong.
And you know what?
So
you know what
wrong.
we were talking about, like music theory earlier. Like in my when we were talking about that, part of what was in my head was like freaking Bob adding the freaking Beethoven or whatever it is to the end of this this track, and you know Gene and Paul just being like, "Whoa, this guy's really onto something here." This track is like that's what I got in my head. So
You know what's the other thing?
yeah, well done, Bob. Well done.
I heard that Gene was very proud of this song, which is so believable. I even found based on what you said, Alex, I found a Reddit thread that was people literally arguing over whether this was tongue-in-cheek or not because it's so bad. And the conclusion was that it wasn't, that this is a song Gene was happy with.
Well, he has...
And like you said, Lena, this is not the sort of band that does self-awareness very well. They don't like to poke fun at themselves.
No.
They take themselves so seriously. It's so much of the problem of Kiss comes down to that.
No. Also, he has outstandingly bad taste. Outstandingly bad taste in his own material that he's written, right? His favourite song is Going Blind. He's really, really, really proud of this. He doesn't say shit about Hell or High Water off Crazy Crazy Nights. He doesn't say shit about Unholy off Revenge. He's got awful, awful taste in his own material. It's absolutely unbelievable.
I can't believe we found a track that is like we put below Going Blind. Like Going Blind, I thought was the low point.
No. This makes Going
This is
Blind.
worse than Going Blind. This is worse than Kissin' Time. This is worse than all of those fucking songs.
No, it's not even one of the worst. It's not even one of the worst things that Kiss has done. I mean, it's just awful. It's really, really unpleasant to listen to. It's sick,
maybe
it's sickly.
we'll
The
talk about
lyrics
this after recording. We'll talk about after this recording, but I think maybe we should create like a Kiss bin and put all the really awful songs in there.
I think
just
we
to
should
like give Newbury's like a Christmas present or something.
I agree. I think we should have the best and worst songs so far. Like for me, it would be like 100,000 Years would be at the top. This would be 100% of the 100% of the bottom. We can talk about that afterwards. We'll talk about that after, but that's a good idea. Next, all right, no, fuck that. Absolutely awful. Next. This is like this. That you know what that is. You know what that is. Sorry, just hate to go back to it. Expectations. It's like the anti-Detroit Rock City. It's like the completely opposite way they should be going. Do you know what I mean? Like the same approach, the same sort of like, right, let's try to, do what we can with this, but just in completely the wrong fucking direction. Awful. Anyway, next, Flaming Youth. I like this. It's got a bit of an Alice vibe. I feel like when Paul sings it, it sounds like he's doing a bit of an Alice. It also sounds like he's trying to do Ace as well. If you hear how Ace sings on later material, it kind of sounds like he's sort of aping that a little bit, which makes sense because Ace he co-wrote this. He didn't play on it, but he co-wrote it. The bit where he's going higher, 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 that to me is very, very Alice.
Oh, okay.
Definitely the kind of thing that he would do, particularly on those albums that Ezra has produced. The bass line is great. There's a lot going on. It's very, very melodic, particularly in the verse. It's very good. Again, I think bass playing wise, this is Gene's strongest album. However, how much he actually played on the album, how much he actually wrote, I wasn't Bob Evans, is up for debate, but I do think he shines off well in this. The chorus sounds like The Who with the keys. I'm not really a huge fan of The Who, but I do think it sort of works. It's got a nice anthemic quality to it. The verses have this kind of nice coming of age vibe that I think suits their mission statement quite well. That same King of the Nighttime World, Detroit Rock City, sort of vibe. Yeah, I think it's all right. I like it. It's okay. What do you think? Alex?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think this album has some, high highs and low lows, and this one's like sits very nicely in the middle. I think it's a decent track. I like the intro with the guitars. I think that's good. The organ as well is a nice touch. Like again, I really like we're getting different sounds and textures from a Kiss album. It just makes it such more pleasurable listen to. It makes the songs more memorable. I think lyrically it's very simple, but I don't hate it. I think sometimes Kiss do well with just the simplicity of it. I'll be honest, I do listen to it and I think this is kind of lame, but I'm guessing at the time it was probably quite like popular sentiment sort of thing. I don't have that much to say about this song. Like I say earlier, I've mentioned like this album finally sounds like Kiss have arrived into the 70s. This is definitely one of those songs that makes me feel that way. Yeah, I don't know, Danny?
Yeah, I agree that it's very mid. I do think it's the most forgettable on the album. This album, for better and for worse, has memorable songs. And this one's the most forgettable for me. Coming after the last track, I was thinking, yes, let's give me this sort of riff, and yes, there was a good Paul scream at the start, I remember. And his vocals, of course, are always nice to come back to. But then I just started, as the song went on, I find it didn't really go anywhere, and I just thought this is great. It's just more glam stuff that they like to kind of hang around in. I don't know. I know what you mean, Alex, that they're arriving in the 70s with this sort of thing, but I do think actually in their writing we've heard them pull from T-Rex before and Status Quo. I suppose here it is just, it is as everything else on this album, it's cleaner, it's better executed. I don't remember. I wrote nice solo benefits from heavy production. I remember thinking although a lot of the solo, I think, me neither. I thought it was better. I think I wrote that because, and I think you alluded to this, Alexei, that this is an underwhelming album solo-wise.
It is.
Based on their other stuff.
I agree.
And so I think this was one of the better ones of the lot. God knows if even Ace played it, though. So maybe it was Dick who played it.
It was Dick.
But apart from that, not much to say. It's a pretty forgettable song. Was it Dick?
It was Dick.
Then Dick did a good job on this one.
Hooray for Dick. Well done,
Dick rocked out.
Dick Wagner. There you go.
Yeah, he was yeah.
So
Yeah, I don't got much to say. It's fine. I'll never listen to it again. Next.
So what you guys were saying with Flaming Youth, which I think comparatively compared to you two, I thought was better. I thought it was okay. I liked it. This next song, like I've written 5 points on this. It's okay. The middle 8 section sounds a bit like Billion Dollar Babies. The lead guitar tone as well is very, very Glenn Buxton. The chorus is a bit Bachman Turner Overdrive. It's got an okay hook, but it's pretty forgettable. Very, very forgettable. Just not. And then my last point is just not much to say. Pretty forgettable, pretty average. It's alright. It's okay. It's fine. It's not bad. I think of all of Gene's songs on this album, if you don't count Shout It Out Loud, this is probably the best one. In fact, no, it is. Of course it is. If you don't count Shout It Out Loud, yeah, because the other two are just fucking awful. This is alright. This is okay. What do you think, Alex?
We're talking about Sweet Pain, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like this this song. I mean, there's good attempts here. I'm not a big fan of that. I'm not sure what's going on with the guitar. Maybe you guys can explain, but the sort of like grang 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 grang.
That's an acoustic. So they're playing an acoustic and an electric at the same time. Give me that da 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 that bit.
There's something quite harsh about the guitar sound in it. But I do like. You talked about the bass.
It's all quite
being
compressed.
The bass is quite helping. I quite liked it. Yeah. There's good attempts at like harmonies between singers here, which I like. But I think this, I don't know. I might just be like the sort of what the song is about. It's just kind of
that ruins everything on this song.
Yeah. I will say actually, even though I just complain about the lyrics, one thing I appreciate about this album is just how direct they are with some of the lyrics. Like, I think if this song was written a few albums back, it would have been like talking about sex would be like, ooh, baby, the way you do the things you do. It would have been like really vague and been like, ooh, so hot, so hurt me. Like, it just these vague words. But here, they're references to whips and sex in a very direct manner. Like, you're not mistaking it for anything else. And I do appreciate that a bit more, but again, just Gene singing about this stuff is always just a turn off.
Is that what it's about? I just don't listen to the lyrics anymore. I think I just zone out. Completely zone out. Is that what it's about?
It's a vague SM song, yeah.
Oh, it's a BDSM song. Oh, fuck that. Oh, yeah. I don't like that. I don't know the idea of him singing.
I mean, the first lyrics are my leathers fit tight around me, whip is always beside me. I'll teach you to love a different way.
Kinda gay.
Yeah, it's a little bit. Yeah, it's a little bit.
I don't have much anything else to say, Daddy. Save me on this one.
Well, what I mainly agree with you, Alex, is the lyrics. I think it's just more Gene shit. I will say though, I'll push back against both of you a bit. I think this is a good chorus on an album that's lacking in good choruses. I like I think again anything with a third party I like with Kiss. So they've got some. It sounds like they've got some extra people singing backing vocals on the chorus. The sweet baby. And I think that's good. I like the chord structure more than a lot of their other songs. It's probably just pure taste. I just think it's a catchier chorus. What I want is to sort of merge this and Flaming Youth. I want the energy and Paul singing it of Flaming Youth to be on Sweet Pain. I think Sweet Pain has a better hook. If Paul was singing this, I think would all be a lot more on it. And maybe let him write the lyrics or something. But the lyrics and Paul of Flaming Youth on Sweet Pain, and I think we've got a pretty good song there. And it has got, to quote Fantano, the boring verse syndrome though, because the verse is much more uninteresting than the chorus.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's all I have to say about it.
Yeah, not very memorable. I think that it's absolutely fine. I think this just gets a pass for me, at least just. Shout It Out Loud.
You know what? Actually,
sorry.
For Gene, I was supposed to say one more thing. For Gene, I'm giving high marks. For him, that is a good Gene chorus.
Yeah,
From
no, I
what
agree
I've
with
heard,
that. Yeah.
I don't think he can usually get that high. That's what I think. Sorry, I interrupted.
No,
Let's move on.
I think this is probably like. I mean, don't worry, I think on this album, vocally, this is Gene's best work, and I think songwriting wise, this is Gene's best work. You know. Oh wait, no, he didn't write God of Thunder though, did he?
Yeah,
Actually,
probably.
he didn't write God of Thunder. Paul wrote God of Thunder. But the thing is, though, the problem with God of Thunder isn't the writing, though. It's just how it's been shat out. That's the issue. Anyway,
Yeah.
shout it out loud, which for some reason in my notes I wrote as shout it a lot. Anyway,
They do shout it a lot.
They do shout it a lot, they actually do. They say it over and over and over again. I think this is good. I think it's better than Rock and Roll All Night. I think it's got a good bass part, a great bass part. Again, I don't know how much of that is Gene. He's using the high ends quite a lot, which is nice, playing along with the melody. It's quite Paul McCartney-esque. I think it's very good. The chorus is just like a good rallying cry. It's simplistic. It's quite effective. I think maybe the production lets it down slightly. I think it could be a bit more bombastic. But I do think the hook is better than the hook on Rock and Roll All Night. I think it's got a good guitar. I think the guitar solo sounds good. It doesn't sound like Ace though. Again, I think this is quite a miss for Ace in that respect. I don't think he really feels like his character's really on it. It's been quite underutilized. Again, when people do point to his best riffs and his best solos and stuff, it's usually not anything off this record. I think that shows. I feel the bit where Paul goes like that. I don't think it really lands very well. It feels quite awkward. I don't think it really fits. But
I like that. Man.
But no, I think it's good. I think of their anthemic, huge songs, their rallying cries, this is probably one of the better ones. And I think at least with this run of albums, is probably the best one. Yeah, but it's only really. What's it up against? It's up against like Kissing Time USA, and Let Me Go Rock and Roll, and Rock and Roll All Night. But yeah, no, I like it. I think it's good. I think this is like, again, when you tie this into their mission statement of, sort of that coming in age, teen spirit, rebellion. Again, sounds really lame, but kind of like the parody of the essence of rock and roll. It's like denim and leather, sneaking out of your house and stuff like that. I feel like this, Flaming Youth, King of the Nighttime World, and Detroit Rock City do capture that energy pretty well. Some better than others, obviously. And I think this captures it, pretty well. Just the idea of just, getting sort of crazy with your friends and stuff like that. Being rebellious. I think it's nice. Not great. It's not going to, I'm not going to be re-listening to a lot, but I think it's good. I like it. Alex, what do you think?
I'm going to disagree. I think this is great. I think this is one of the best songs that we've listened to so far of all the albums.
It is good. It is good. Don't get me wrong.
It's simple to the point. It pushes. It puts Paul it puts Paul and Gene just in a great position just to be ridiculous and to bounce off each other really well. I don't have that much to say about this one because it's just so straightforward. And of all, this whole thing while we listen to them is but they're a really great live band. And these songs, they might not be great on the album, but live, they're really awesome. This is the first song where I've heard it. Well, I would have listened to it on the album and I've been like, oh, now I can see, they have that live crowd energy. I think, with the way they're going off each other on the outro here. Is it the most complex song, or does it do anything that interesting? Not really, but I think it sounds great. I think the chorus is super catchy. I've been singing it to myself all freaking day. And I think it's just a good position for them to be in.
It doesn't have to be complex though. This is the thing. This is what I was saying about why. What would make a great Kiss record is just heavy. It's just it's again like what Danny said with Lordi, heavy, tuneful, anthemic. That's what you want. Do you know what I mean? And I agree with you that I do think this captures this well. No, this is good. Like I don't think it's like, again, I'm not gonna be rushing back to it, but it is good. It's definitely good.
It might not have like that heavy sort of feeling that I know we've been clamoring for, but still, I do think this is the way this comes together. It definitely puts it up there with one of the best Kiss songs we've had so far. Am I too crazy, Danny?
I think it's interesting hearing you two talk about it. I guess I lean a bit more towards Alexei in that I've got generally positive things to say about this. I wouldn't go as far as to say it's one of the best ones we've had yet. I mean, it's typical, thank God Paul is back, energy going on here. And it's very major key, but this is where I'm going to start to be a little more forgiving of that, because I think this is proto hair metal, is what we're getting here.
Oh,
and where Kiss
I didn't think about that. Yeah, this is Poison. This is Poison all over.
I think this is so... Yeah, we are getting the start of when not just they, but the industry are going. I think if there's anything Kiss contributed to the industry, it's hair metal. You know, they weren't part of the heavy metal canon in the way they wanted to be, or the hard rock canon in the way they maybe wanted to be, but hair metal...
Which is why...
Again, I don't want to jump ahead to later albums. But they had a sort of later career... Go on, Alexei.
No, I said, which is why when they finally did get round to making hair metal, it was fucking amazing.
Right, that's what I'm getting at. It's like they were slowly working on it in a way that no one would ever bother giving the time to when it comes to hair metal. They were sort of perfecting it early on here.
Yeah.
It's mainly the chorus, because I think the reason this song isn't quite perfect is because they're still holding on to that kind of rock and roll glam chords, especially in the bridge. Now, I forgot the bridge, but they do it all the time when they do that sort of sort of, I don't know, that's sort of like Birthday by the Beatles. I don't mean like that. You know what I mean? Again, this sort of, they love to go back to that, and it sounds so tame whenever they do that. But the chorus here is I think, a sign of what's to come. And when it comes to Kiss, I actually welcome that. I prefer Black Diamond. I prefer Detroit Rock City. And when it's it feels over the top to say darker. It's hardly, because it's still Kiss. But you know what I mean? But that's probably just because I'm more of a Iron Maiden fan than I am a Poison fan. The only other thing I have to say about this song is fuck off, Gene. When he says, "You got to have a party," so fucking.
You got to have a party. Yeah, it's a bit shit. Yeah, it's a bit rubbish.
It really shows it, because when when he's up against Paul, it really shows that he just cannot sing. When Paul's belting and it's kick ass, and then Gene just shows up like this senile old man in the back.
Yeah, he's a bit like someone's he does come across like someone's kind of lonely uncle at a wedding that isn't very well socialised, sort of coming up to you whilst everyone's dancing, going, "Oh, you've got to have a party."
Are you enjoying the party?
Oh, you want to dance? Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, fuck that. Yeah, I agree with you about the hair metal. Totally, definitely that aesthetic. Like you can totally hear Nothing But a Good Time by Poison. You can totally hear Come On Feel the Noise. I know that's a cover by Quiet Riot. But, that kind of just like, that's just, have fun, party around, drink a lot and stuff like that.
And,
I agree.
And Femic, everybody join in the chorus.
Yeah, let's just have a good time sort of thing. Yeah, no, well said. Beth, this is the hit. This is what pulled up sales. This is what saved the album. It was going to drop off top 200. This pulled it back. This made the album sell as it was expected to sell. Now, because of this gave Peter Criss quite a grandiose sense of self-worth, because obviously he sings it. And
I got that impression.
Yeah, and he sort of credited as writing it. However, he didn't really write it. By all accounts, he kind of came up with the main melody, like the kind of main vocal melody, the kind of Beth, I Hear You Calling. But in terms of the actual writing, like the orchestration, like apparently he could barely read, let alone be able to compose like a 50-piece orchestra or whatever it is. I mean, it's not that much of a stretch. You can't imagine him with a baton.
I think the core of this song is the melody, and I believe, without any music theory or anything, you know, anyone can come up with a nice melody and a nice lyric. And I agree that this guy, like, the inflated self-worth that came out of this song, but you know, like, Paul and Gene just are so obsessed with like shitting on Peter, and I can believe that while Bob Ezrin did almost everything on this song, the initial melody could what I would count as worthy of writing credit. I don't know what percentage, but I think Peter deserves a bit, but I don't know. I wasn't there. Who the fuck knows?
I don't know. It's a bit like I could see. I mean,
I don't know.
I don't. I mean, I get what you're saying, but I don't. I think that I can sort of sympathise with Paul and Gene, which is not something I say a lot. If you were trying to be like, you know what, Peter, maybe you should, I don't know, practice your drums a little bit, and go, well, I wrote the only hit song, and you're like, yeah, okay, we know, Peter. We sort of did that for you to give you a bit of a leg up, you know, feel a bit more confidence in yourself. You know what I mean? And it just completely went to his head. I think I like this. Yeah, I like Peter's voice, obviously. I don't think he sings it well. It's very short. It's very short, this song, which is good, I suppose. You don't want it hanging around too long. The lyrics humanize the band quite a lot, which does take away from the sort of mythic, larger-than-life personas a little, which isn't necessarily what you want. But if you take Kiss sort of out of context, yeah, it's all right. It's a bold choice, obviously, for the band, but out of context, it's pretty inoffensive. It's quite melancholy in places. I think Peter sings it very, very well. Although apparently he was kind of forced to do it line by line until his pitch was right. It took him like 100 takes to get it right. But, you know, I like his voice. I think he sings it well. I think it's quite sentimental sounding. Again, yeah, it's all right. It's pretty good. That's all I have to say, really, on it. It's kind of similar with a lot of stuff on this, where I sort of have the mind state of like, yeah, it's fine. It's okay. It's good. It's on the good side of okay. A lot of this stuff. What do you think, Alex?
Yeah, it's legitimately sweet. Like I think actually, the fact that Peter Criss isn't like you know, singing's not his main gig, actually kind of adds to the song a little bit.
Wait. He's a better singer than he's a drummer. That is his main gig, in my view. Oh, do you mean like what he does? Oh, sorry, like what he does the most. Oh, sorry, yeah. Yeah, he's not his drummer. He's not his drummer, but he's a much better singer. Anyway, carry on.
But there's a unpolishedness to his voice, and I think we got this back with Mainline as well, to his vocal style. Like if Paul sang this, it would be a completely different sort of thing. But if Peter, when he's singing it, like
that's true.
The emotions come through a lot cleaner. It's I like this as like a change of pace. I think we mentioned it before, but like listening to this album was so much easier than listening to like albums previously, because there were like different changes of pace and different styles. And I'm not sure I'd want a song like this on every Kiss album, but I really like that they're attempting it. I would never normally listen to a song like this, but I think they did it quite well. And I also like that they kept it still, at least in the topic, rock adjacent, because it's literally about like him being away with the band. So it's not a complete departure from what they usually sing about. Like, it's talking about, you know, he's got to be away from Beth because he's rocking with the band and getting the sound right and all this stuff. So I put this down as a good effort. I don't know what's that.
I think
good effort. Well done.
I think one thing I will definitely say in this song's favour is that Paul and Gene really didn't want it at all. but they were okay with Great Expectations, right? That in itself wants me to be like, you guys are quite fucking idiots in comparison. Like, I mean, it is infinitely better than that. But I agree with you about the sort of rawness to his voice. It does give it quite a fragility to it, which is legitimately quite sweet. Definitely, 100%. Yeah, Danny, what do you think?
I like Beth. I like Beth a lot. It sounds like I like it the most out of the three. I would put this as one of, I don't know about best, but this is one of my favorite songs we've had. So this is right up there. I already knew it going in. It's like, and I've thought about it because I tried to analyze that, and I wonder if it's to do with I'm quite familiar with hard rock and guitar music and 70s classic rock. And so when I hear Kiss, I'm often comparing it to just all this so much better music that I know. And so maybe, and I'm just guessing here, because I don't really listen to this sort of old pop ballad very much, I'm comparing it less, and so I just think, God knows the guitar music isn't working out for them so well. This kind of works for me. I think that it's well executed. I think I don't think it's so surprising that a song that features only one member of the band and
so
mostly third-party performers, and Bob Ezrin's done all the arrangements. It's great, and all we're left with from the boys in Kiss is Peter Criss's vocals. One of the best things about the band. So it's perfect in that sense. And what I feel, I'm close to hypocrisy because I keep talking about how they need to match their image, but I'm not a purist on them just being metal. In that, I think ballads suit them because it's not just that they look like a metal band; they look theatrical. And I think this works for them in a way that Great Expectations doesn't even touch or come close to. It kind of makes them feel more like a complete band, including works like this, I think. Because I think it's because it sounds like a musical number, a ballad from a musical.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
They're a band that is very, with the makeup and the spitting blood and blowing fire, or breathing fire. This actually, I think, suits them quite a lot, having the emotional moment of the gig. Because I heard they did that, right? He'd come out with a stool and they'd play it back on tape and he'd sing the song. And it would be like the little down moment. I totally get why this was a hit. Because, like I said, God knows the guitar music wasn't working. All that well in many aspects. So actually, I think it's great. It's a ballad. But in the same way that, forgive me for this comparison, but, The Long and Winding Road by the Beatles doesn't really sound like their other music. And that's a similar sort of song. This reminds me of that song. Maybe not quite as good.
Yeah, that's good.
But it's got the same feeling to it. So I like Beth. And I'll even take the sort of, the lyrics get a little too kind of gender role-ish for me, but it's fine. No, it's sweet. It is sweet, Alex. You're right. It's sweet, and I like Beth. It's way up there.
I think that there is the argument to be made that whether it even really is a Kiss song, like what you were saying, Danny, that essentially the only member of the band that's on it is Peter, and he barely really wrote any of it. Really, so it's not. In a sense, it isn't really a Kiss song, and it was a huge hit. Which it's kind of like if you use like the George Lucas comparison, that his level of involvement with Star Wars films like dictates their success, and unless that he is involved, sort of like the bigger and better that they are.
Yeah,
like I mean, I think it's kind of like the similar thing. It's sort of like just. Because one of the main reasons why Bob Ezrin said it was such a big success was partly because he was wearing cat makeup, which just spanned the whole thing a little bit weird. Do you know what I mean? So it was kind of like that. Yeah, there was the fact that it was this person that was in a cat costume and cat makeup singing this very sentimental song, which was very well written and well crafted, and he had a nice voice. And he was saying that it was like all those things culminated together
Yes.
to make something that was going to be quite a big hit. And it was a pretty big hit. It got to number, fucking hell, I can't remember, number 9, top 10, 7 actually, I think it was 7. Did all right.
Pretty good.
It did all right.
Very good.
You know, it did all right.
And Alexei, it brings me back to what you said about, way back at the start when you were kind of saying, maybe experimentation, is this what we want? And this is what I mean about, maybe expanding their sound a bit was just what they needed in order to become more radio friendly. Because this works, an album of Beth's like songs probably would not be great. It works as a little moment in the album or in the live show, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
And again, it's why we're being careful with the word experimental. This is experimental for Kiss. In terms of like the charts, this is the opposite of experimental. But it's got like you said, Alexei, that, seeing someone in black and white cat makeup singing this quite endearing pop ballad with an orchestral arrangement and a gruff voice, it is a bit weird. So yeah, I agree. Beth is tip top.
Yeah, I think after listening to you guys, I think that I do get you. I mean, because my whole thing on it was like, yeah, it's nice, it's a nice song, it's sort of inoffensive enough and stuff like that. But no, I mean, it is, in many respects, I think the idea of it is is better than the song itself in many respects. I think that it's like almost like a masterstroke in, how to, market a song, write a song and make it into a hit. You know what I mean? It's kind of like that borderline between it's novelty, because obviously it's Guy the Cat Maker, but it's legitimately good sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? A bit like, again, to bring the Darkness comparison back in, a bit like the Darkness or, Electric Six. It's silly, it's daft, and there's kind of this weird thing, but it's legitimately great. It's legitimately great music, and I think this is, quite a good example of that. The last track, or second to last track, do we call it? I don't know. I don't really know. I've got fuck all to say about the last track.
It's the second to last
track. By the way, it's the second last track. I've got fuck all. I think I'll just let you take the last track. Okay, so do you love me? Right. Okay, so right. So good things about it, or at least I think probably the best thing about it is the drum sound. I mean, the drums sound fucking brilliant. I mean, the drums sound really meaty, really roomy. I dig it.
That's true.
I like it. It sound great.
Yeah, that's true.
Sound absolutely great. And they come in with a good swagger. But then the song starts, right? This is really, really annoying. It's just very, very annoying. It's horrible. It makes me do weird things with my arms when I listen to it. It makes me flap around and stuff. It's just it's so obnoxiously, just obnoxious and horrible. Paul sings it in such a slimy, greasy way. It sounds absolutely horrible. He sings it like a Disney villain or like a pantomime villain. Do you know what I mean? When they get a musical
That's
number,
it's
you really he's trying to woo a princess into marrying him, and he's got all these riches, and he's got all these riches in his evil castle. It's you really lied. Again, also we return back to that theme that I really thought was gone, of women are just money grabbing, ruthless, emotionally bankrupt harpies.
Yeah,
it's sort of back. I mean, it's done in a bit more of a sort of creative way, I suppose, but it's still bad. Creative sexism isn't better than explicit sexism. Also, there's loads of little vocal accoutrements that are just not pleasant to listen to, loads of and Paul is so high in the mix where he's I really do that. And again, it's just not very, very nice. It feels like he's saying it right in your ear, and it's just, you can even feel his breath, and it's horrible. The middle eight, I think, it's all right. It's got really pointless church bells on it. Kind of meaningless orchestra. However, I do think the outro is good. It's a bit, again, random church bells, but I think they cut out exactly at the right point. So it sounds like Paul was going to have like a stroke because he's beginning to sound completely ridiculous. He's like, like it sounds like he's dying. So I didn't know because I do like the outro. It's a mixed review from me. I'm more leaning on probably bad. It's like a marginal thumbs down. Not great. Alex, what do you think?
Yeah, similar to you. I don't have much to say about this song. Like, I actually quite like that they tried a lot of stuff with this album and with this song about like the different vocal effects. I like that they were trying different stuff and it gives a bit of variety, but it doesn't quite work out, especially the bells towards the end of the song. Like, to me, this song is not worthy to have like a big ending, church bells going off.
Sounds like they're getting married. It sounds like the story has a happy ending.
Yeah,
I do love you, and they get married.
Yeah.
Which, if you read Paul Stanley's autobiography, his history of marriage isn't exactly like an endeavour. He's particularly, got a healthy relationship with.
I also thought it was just really funny. My first note was, "Oh, they've grown up," because like all the songs they've done before about women they literally never gave a shit about women as people. It was always about like how they could perform in sex or how they look. Or how much they love the band. And then it's kind of strange for us to finally get a song where it's like, but do you love me? I think it's really stupid. But again, this album, they're maturing a little bit. So we'll see where that goes. I think this song was quite boring. It's so over the top, like you guys are saying. It just doesn't work. Was when Alexei, when you said that there wasn't enough like raw materials to create good songs, despite how much production you throw into it. This was the song that I thought of, where just a chorus with not much going on, verse with not much to say, and no catchy riff or anything. I think this was kind of actually for an album which I enjoyed listening to a fair bit. I think this was quite a bad way to end the album.
I think that you made a point actually that's just got to be, why Shout It Out Loud not the closing track?
Yeah.
What the hell is going on there?
Oh, that's true, yeah.
In comparison to this. Are you having
or
a
Beth,
laugh?
if you want a different vibe.
Yeah, or Beth. Yeah.
Could
Bring it down. You know what I mean? Just to bring it down, make it more melancholy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? In fact, that would probably work with the album a bit better. He was talking about that teenage spirit, you know what I mean? Like the kind of rock and roll and stuff like that, and then kind of maybe bringing it to the darker side of it, of how, you know, doing this sort of thing means you neglect your family to a certain extent. That would work better. But anything.
Sacrifice.
This is so mid-album. To me, I think this is so mid-album, personally. I don't know how Shout It Out Loud is not the closer.
It's not the last track on the album, Alexei.
Sorry,
Sorry.
I got loads written for the next one,
Yeah, where they had to fill... Sorry, I forgot about the last track where they have to just fill out the runtime. Anyway, what do you think, Danny?
I'm going to be unprofessional, and I'm just going to read 4 notes that I wrote. The first 4 notes I wrote in order. First I put... First I'll say, I already knew this song going in. So my first note was, this song, ha 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 ha. Then I wrote, I have no memory of this weird Christmas sounding bridge in the middle. I like that. And then I wrote, oh, it's fine. And then I wrote, these fucking bells, ha 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 ha. So that it is like what I feel about this.
Going back to freaking Great Expectations, this is weird Christmas sound.
Yeah,
Slade or somebody.
Bells.
Like, come on, kids, everyone come around. Santa's coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Yeah, I think your review's the best one.
It's just... Like, in a way, this is an incredibly mid-track, but in a very different way to Flaming Youth. Where Flaming Youth, I felt, was a bit forgettable. This is the opposite of forgettable, this song. This song has so many things I could talk about, but it's still just super mid because it's so silly. But it's fine, and I don't know, like, it's still obviously so much nicer to have Paul singing, but when he's not belting and he's instead putting on silly fucking voices. Trying to
Slobbering.
sound
I
cool.
call it slobbering.
Yeah, when he's blubbering around, when he should be, look at the start of this album. The first vocal note on this album is beautiful on Detroit Rock City. That's what I want from Paul. I don't need all this this extra stuff that I'm getting from him here.
I know, it's like he's slobbering.
Yeah, it's fine. It's Do You Love Me?
It's like he's slobbering all over you. It's so wet sounding and greasy. Like, it's horrible. Absolutely horrible. Last track, Rock and Roll Party.
I don't have much else to say.
I've made no notes on this at all. I don't get it. Well, I mean, I get it to a certain extent.
Well,
it's them trying to be weird and arty. I think it's things like this in the title, which is why some people think this is a concept album. I don't really think it's a concept album at all. If it is a concept, very, very loose. There's some people that call it. 100%. There was people that call this a concept album, and I think it's things like this where they think like actually, if you connect that with some of the through lines and some of the songs, there is some sort of connection that's there. But again, what do you say? I mean, it's a bit from Alive that's
with effects,
with just loads of fucking effects on it. Do you know what I mean? Not for me.
It uses the kid from from God of Thunder. It uses bells, I think, from some of the tracks. I was really trying to, because I liked the intro bit. I thought like that's just like a nice way to open an album, give a bit of character. And this just does the opposite, where it just leaves you confused, and you're like, wait, what am I listening to? Like, what was that trying to tell me? So I can't figure out what this was for, other than maybe to extend the album length. But I think they've had shorter albums, so I'm not sure what the point is. You really have more to say about it?
Yeah, I actually like it, and I'll tell you why. I think it's funny. I don't think it's what they were going for, but because it's called Rock and Roll Party, and you're just hearing this kind of very muted, muffled samples of him shouting from a live show, and so it's like I thought I was about to get like this, real big shout it out loud closer, and then I just kind of. And it made me laugh. I thought that's funny that they called the song Rock and Roll Party. And I get it, they called it that because that's what he's saying in the sample. So I almost think it's a shame that it's a sample of him saying Rock and Roll Party. Because if it was just some random fucking noises at the end of a Kiss album called Rock and Roll Party, I think that's funny. I can't believe it's the second time I'm bringing up the Beatles in this conversation, but I like Her Majesty. I like the tape loops at the end of Sgt. Pepper's. I like putting it. Why not just put in a weird fucking thing at the end of the album? Also, I think it's a hidden track. I think it is that. Is it the sort of thing where the needle really goes off the end?
But there's I can't take anything away from this. Like even if it is just someone go like what? But you can't hear him.
I guess well. I don't need to. I just think I like weird. You know what, Alex? I'm just kind of crazy, and I like experimental music. I'm just kind of out there, and this is experiment. Man. I'll take this. I am quirky, like that, Alex. In a way, I guess that's it. I just like weird noises. I guess.
Yeah.
And this is that. I know what you mean in the context of the album, but like I say, I'll force myself to see it in a humorous way. I'm able to do that. To just be like, that's funny. They put this at the end of this. It's a fucking Kiss album. It's supposed to be about, partying like and shit.
Saying it like that, it makes it seem as though it wasn't even, or maybe it was Bob Ezrin, but just somebody who just, mastering the album, mixing the album, whatever. And then, they just thought it'd be funny to put that in at the end. There's nothing from Kiss.
I'd be amazed if the band had anything to do with it.
I can't imagine that Gene or Paul or somebody was just like, it'd be good, put this
putting that at the end, yeah.
I just think it's
so, I mean... I would honestly not call it the worst track on the album.
It's just why stop taking yourself so
I think it's better than Several.
Do you know what I mean? You're not fucking Radiohead. Shut up. It's just it's not what you want. It's not what you want, I don't think, out of an album like this. I think the actual, effect, it sounds kind of weird and interesting, but, in the context of the album, it's just who do you think you are? Do you know what I mean? It's just, I don't know. I'm not a fan personally.
All right, well, that's the album.
All right.
That's the album.
That's
the album.
Note is the final taste.
As a whole,
let's do wrap ups.
As a whole, the songs I like Detroit Rock City, I like Flaming Youth, and I like Shout Out Loud. I think they're all pretty good. I don't think any of them are necessarily as good as 100,000 Years, Black Diamond, or Mainline. I think Detroit Rock City probably is, actually. I think that probably gets up there. And I like Beth, actually. I do like Beth. I like Beth as well. This, to me, as an album, quality-wise, as in kind of like my relationship with it, probably has the most in common with Dress to Kill. In terms of like overall, the overall quality is more consistent. This is like a pretty consistent record. Despite the fact that this has got 2 absolutely terrible songs on it, like really bad. However, overall, the tracks that I do like off this record are to a much higher standard, I think, than Dress to Kill. The production is the best across, I mean, hands down. It doesn't even really bear discussing that much. It might not be as hard a lot of the time. However, sorry, let me say that again. Like, the production might not be that hard because of the decisions made. It does lose a bit of grit and a bit of punch, but hands down, it is the best sounding. Ultimately, they're being pushed into different sonic territories with this. I don't think it's necessarily what you want wholeheartedly from a Kiss record, but I think it's good that they were challenged and stretched, and it has paid off on a number of tracks. Again, when you pick up a Kiss record, you look inside, this isn't what I want. This isn't what I want to listen to. But it's still undoubtedly better than the first 3 albums. Like I said, Alice already occupied a weird space that Kiss didn't. I also think that, again, Bob Ezrin didn't have great raw materials to create something as good as Killer or $1 Billion Babies or Love It to Death. Those are hard art rock records. And that's what he does well. He does that really, really well. And this is not that. This is not a classic, in my view. Even commercially, it was only really a success because of Beth. Beth pulled it up. And that was mostly written by others. I think it's alright. I think it's the best of the 4. Would I recommend it as a whole album? That I am kind of struggling with, because to me, or at least, you know, with this list, there's a cut-off point where there's a threshold of whether we would actually recommend the album or not. And I think this does come, this does come close. It does come close, but for me, probably not. I think it's competent. It sounds better. It's way more textural. The performances are good. I just think that they're not great songwriters, and you can't polish a turd that much. And I need to make one point really, really clear. I am far from satisfied with God of Thunder and Great Expectations. These are by far some of the worst of their back catalogue, if not the worst. And just for that, for just Great Expectations alone, I will put it second to top out of spite to Gene. However, I will also happily put it top as well. But I can be persuaded to put it second to top if you guys agree. So yeah. 5.5, 6 out of 10, 5.5, 6 out of 10. What do you guys think?
Wow,
Alex?
okay. Oh, I haven't even thought about giving numbers to it.
No, I'm just trying to give an overall sense of like what.
Get your point across.
I get how
well, you
how
said
this
like
how
would
this
I
rates for
recommend?
me.
You said like would I recommend this album to anybody, and really no. However, if somebody asked me like, why are you recording a podcast about Kiss? I don't think I could probably fully explain why using Hotter Than Hell or Kiss or even Dress to Kill, because those
good point, man.
were chores
That's
to listen to. in the sense that like there were so many songs that sounded so similar to each other, and they just had this old sound, and I'm just thinking like, this is so boring. Like, these songs are so boring. With this album, though there are some big misses, it is at least, I can at least listen to it and go, okay, they're really trying something, and it sounds like there's weird stuff going on, and it encapsulates the time in such an interesting way, that if I want to explain to someone why I'm recording a podcast for it, I would show this is the album why, because of all of the things that hit and all the things that really miss. And I think we put it at the top. I think it's better than Dress to Kill. Just simply, it's a much easier album to listen to. And even the songs that we sort of a bit mid on, sort of like Flaming Youth or Do You Love Me, they're okay. They're still fine. Or they weren't as like really exhausting like on previous albums. So for that reason, I would say it's the best album we've listened to so far. And there's some tracks here I legitimately like.
I think that you've hit on some good points there, which is the whole point of like doing the podcast where you're looking at albums by quite critically maligned artists. It's because there might genuinely be some interesting shit in there that people sort of write off and stuff like that. And you're right, it is for the point of just looking at that experimentation, using those textures and stuff like that. You probably never would have heard a song like Great Expectations. I'm not saying it's good. I mean, obviously it's terrible, but it's an eye-opener, if anything. Do you know what I mean? It's something that's caught your attention, you know. And I mean, there's a lot of what you said that I agree with. I mean, it's the best out of the four. Come on. I mean, it has to be. It has to be. It's got the two worst songs of their career in it, or at least the worst song of their career. And
it's got really the worst song. We could debate about God of Thunder, but yeah.
Okay, well, maybe not God of Thunder, but because that's got at least got a good backbone of a song in there. Great Expectations is the worst thing that they've ever done, hands down, without a shadow of a doubt. You know, it's more like if you guys push me and say for that song alone it has to go even bottom, I would happily put it bottom. But it's the best out of the four. Danny, what do you think?
I read rather, that, you know, while this did better with the critics, there was some talk of, you know, if not selling out, you know, losing that grit. You know, they were a hard rock band. They were rough around the edges. That's why we loved them. And I want to be very clear, they were never a fucking grassroots rock band, or at least that was never what anyone liked about them. I do not believe that.
I agree.
I'm sure they worked hard. I'm not saying they weren't, you know, touring the circuits and working very hard. What I mean is that was they were never punk. They were never gritty, and that's what we love them for. They might want to make it sound that way because they want to sound cool, but they have always been. And Alexei, I like what you've said. This hard art rock phrase that you've coined. I'm actually all for that because I think that's, you know, I can say I want them to be a metal band, but they're just not. I think they really could be a hard art rock band, and when they're at their best, that's what they are. When they're at their best, it's still not even really a metal band, but I want them to be, you know, somewhere between Alice Cooper and Lordi. Anywhere between that would be great. Give me some experimentation, give me some catchy hooks. And this album, just in what they represent, is more, away from that grittiness that, you know, you can call it grittiness, but actually they were just poorly produced and they were poorly performed and the songs weren't great on the previous albums. Now the songs still aren't great, but they do benefit from better production. This sort of music just does. In what the band represents, like it's like they always want to seem to have it both ways. Like they're hard and they're gritty, but they also want critical acclaim and to be doing something artistic and deep. And they can't have it both ways. And also, sorry, I'm going off on a tangent because all of this is to say that this album is not even that out there experimentally or artistically.
No, it's not.
We're just comparing it to their earlier stuff. There's nothing wild and wacky about, you know, this isn't John Cage. And so I'm afraid we are left with a lot of forgettable chorus, a lot of weak choruses, and I don't feel the party in the way that I want to with a Kiss. I think Gene is utterly unprepared for the improved production, while Paul was made for it. And I bet this is going to become a theme. This is going to become a theme because I think Gene he's utterly out of his depth. He could almost get away with it on the earlier albums because, they were rough. They were like demos, those early albums. And so you don't have to be the best singer. You don't have to be writing the best songs. We'll give them a pass. It's, they're still in their early days. Paul is embracing any track where Paul's singing now. I'm feeling it, but even stuff like "Do You Love Me," I'm, infinitely better than any of Gene's vocals on this album. So
I agree.
To conclude, I'd say I'd agree with you both. I'd say this is the best album yet. Only, what I wrote in my notes was it has to be. And Alex, you absolutely hit the nail on the head when you said about like, why are we doing this and what is it that I'm looking for when I'm ranking these albums. And I will take this with fucking Great Expectations and all the terribleness of this album, just as a piece of history, as a better conversation point as the previous three albums. There's so much more to talk about on this album than those boring songs. There's just so much boring shit on their other albums.
I agree.
So I would put this one at the top.
Yeah, Just to Kill
that's my conclusion.
specifically, I think you're completely right on that point. I mean, yeah, Just to Kill is just there's nothing there. Absolutely nothing there. But
yeah,
I think we're all in a good. Would you recommend it? This record? No. What if someone was like, I want to get?
I'm straight.
If they were like, I want to get into Kiss. I would like to get into Kiss. Give me 2 albums. It wouldn't be on there. 5 albums. Well, I don't know. You've not done 5, or you've not heard 5.
No, because to answer that question, I have to listen to more of their albums. So far, I've only heard.
No, you're right. You're right.
Sounds like what we're saying so far. So far, that we would say this album if we're putting it on top of the ranking.
Well, yeah. I mean, I agree. No, but
it's out of these 4, then yeah. But again, it's like I have to.
I agree. I agree with Danny. You just have to. You just have to.
Yeah.
Right.
All right.
Right. Well, there you go. So next, we've got
what's next?
What is next? Oh, Rock and Roll Over. Rock and Roll Over.
Oh yeah.
We're entering. We're
that's
into
that's smart.
A sort of what is seen really is like the sort of golden age that's coming up by fans.
They're on top of the world.
This
and long may it rain.
Because we completely changed the face of the music industry forever. There's no racist.
Okay. Should we finish on
mainline?
Oh, no, how about we say?
Okay.
We finish on Beth. I was thinking we.
Oh yeah, let's finish on Beth.
Oh, can we sing 3? Can we sing 3 different songs from this album simultaneously and see if we sing the same?
Okay, we'll count down.
Okay,
you count down, Alexei, then we'll sing whatever.
1, 2, 3, 4. You're in the line! Now you're moving.